Follow, 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 follow me. Whither shall I follow, follow thee? Whither shall I follow, follow thee? To the greenwood, to the greenwood, to the greenwood, greenwood tree. So it has been interesting to bring people along to the idea that you can be sitting here in this space and that person over there is a pagan, but that person over there is Unitarian Universalist, and this person here is Jewish, and that person over there is Catholic. So it helps us to understand that we don't rag on other religions here. We'll rag on the patriarchy all day long and all night long. Person, and everything is going to devolve at some point into a story where I do this. Gosh, we've been doing public rituals for several years. And when I say we, I mean the pagan community in general. We've been doing classes and public rituals and events and all sorts of things, and I found myself incredibly dissatisfied with Earth Day. Now, I was around in the 70s when Earth Day got started, and it seemed very lovely and touching, and like most people, I wanted Earth Day to be 365 and not just one day a year. But then it devolved, as things often do, into a weekend of craft beer and dubious outdoor bands and vendors. So it was like every other sort of low-grade festival. And I just found it disturbing and unfulfilling. Well, I woke up, I guess it was about 19 years ago now. I woke up one morning about a week before Earth Day and kind of sat bolt upright in the bed and thought, the problem is Earth Day needs to be the 9th holy day on the wheel of the year. It needs to be lucky number 9, and we need to just do it and say it's a ritual day in which we kick off the Beltane season with this wonderful thing. And I called, so this group gathered together, and we did the elm dance, and we did songs, and we handed out rocks, and it was exactly what my little soul needed it to be. Well, afterwards, a gang of us, 8 of us actually, went over to a friend's house to have a little bonfire in the fire pit in the backyard, drink some tequila, and go, how did that work? Oh, that seemed fine, and do sort of a defrag of the event. And somehow in the middle of that, maybe it was the tequila, but I don't think so, we said, what if we created a goddess temple? What if we did that? But we really wanted this to be a place, a non-denominational temple, where however you honor the Divine Feminine, she is here. Now we're here only 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then by special appointment. So if somebody needed to sit here in front of the altar, this may in fact be the only goddess temple on the eastern seaboard of the United States that's open. Now there are people who have temples in their homes and shops that have temples in the back room, but this is an open pagan temple, and it is a goddess temple, and we may be the only one, I don't know. So then I have this sense of, it may be pokey, but it's ours. And of course with Helene, here we never lost power. Now we lost water for a while, and they brought in porta potties, and they brought in potable water and all that so that we could keep going. But we never lost power here. And that meant when it was time to do relief work, there was a place to come. It was the difference between active relief work and passive relief work, because we really could gather people in here. And January the 1st of this year, we did a ritual on the river, because I kept hearing from people, I'm afraid of the river, I hate the river, I don't want to be near the river anymore. And so we did a blessings on the river. It was cold as whiz, it was so cold. But we gave offerings to the river in the form of bread and herbs, and we thanked the river, and we loved the river. Because there is a very anthropomorphic thing that happens with humans, that, oh, the river is mad. Oh, the earth is mad at us. And neither the river nor the earth are mad at us. They really aren't. They are doing what they do, given what the climate is and the weather system, all of that. These beings, these forces do what they do. And for us to take that personally, and this is more about us than it says about the river or the mountains, but yeah, there's a lot of PTSD still in this community.
When did you kind of have you always been involved in Appalachian witchcraft? Is it something you discovered? Did you grow up with it?
No, I grew up with it.
You grew up with it?
Yeah, and we wouldn't have called it Appalachian witchcraft. We really didn't. I mean, I learned most of it from cousins who were probably nominally Baptist, and my grandmother, who was a Methodist. So I learned all of the sort of healing tricks from neighbors and cousins and whatever many, many years ago.
How did the Byron Ballard brand, how did the brand begin? How did the brand evolve? See, it was pretentious, wasn't it?
How did the brand begin? Well, the writing brand. I mean, I've been doing the witchcraft forever and ever and ever. And then when I moved out of the country, I was no longer a rural person, but was of a more urban person, went to college, went to graduate school. A lot of that got just sort of left behind, as it does. I mean, we see that historically again and again, that there are these strong folkloric practices that once those folks move out of a rural area so they can work in the mill and have real money, then that stuff gets left behind, because that's what those country people do. I'm not a country person anymore. That's a whole other discussion we can have. So I let that stuff go for a long time, and then I have 2 degrees in theater, so obviously I'm a theater person. Could you tell? Can you tell? And it wasn't, the witchcraft stuff started coming, the folkloric stuff started coming in when I was writing plays for our theater company, Smoky Mountain Repertory Theater, and I wanted to do local history plays. So I went back into those stories that I'd known as a child, and I wrapped real characters and plots and all that around them so that I could do them. So that really came first. That dug back to my earliest roots with folklore. And then I got pregnant. And we were on our way. My husband is from New York. We were on our way to New York to tell his family so they would be happy. Hooray, they're going to have a baby. And on the way, we asked all these questions. We talked about names. We talked about boy or girl. We talked about all that stuff. We talked about circumcision if it's a boy. Do we, don't we? All that stuff. And then we got to religion, and my husband said, well, I think we could raise the baby Catholic. It didn't hurt me. And I turned to him and said, it made you an atheist. So no, I'll take care of that. So that's the beginning of the Byron brand, I guess. And then because I was talking so much about the folkloric quality of Appalachian folk magic, I realized that the culture here was shifting and it was thinning. That's the way I thought of it. It's thinning. And there just aren't people doing this anymore. So maybe what I should do is write it all down. And then I had huge doubts about that, because so much around Appalachian culture is stereotyped outside the culture. And I just wasn't sure. And finally I just said, yes, I'm going to write it down. And that was my very first book. And that came out I wrote it in 2011. And it's called Stalbs and Ditchwater. And it's so much about the culture and so little about the folkloric practice that I think that's what I had to get out, is that we are a legitimate culture, and I don't care what you think of us, and I don't care what kind of stereotypes you have of us. Here is the culture. laid out for you. Well, what I found out when I went on a little book tour for that, I went up to West Virginia, and I went to Virginia, and I went to Kentucky, and I found out people are still doing this, but they don't have a name for it. They don't have a shingle hanging up. They don't have a Facebook page. They're not in the socials. They still live in their communities, but people in their communities know if the baby is colicky, I go see this person. If I want to get pregnant, I go see this person. If I need to find out where to dig the well, I go to this person. So all of that is still, at that point, was still very much alive. So then I wrote my second book, which is Aspidity and Madstones. And that's much more loaded with the folkloric magical stuff. Herbal stuff, hexing, all of that. And then I wrote a book called Earthworks, Ceremonies in Tower Time, because I've also been talking about Tower Time now for 30 years, easy, that systems are collapsing. And then went on to write 2 more folklore books, and that my most recent book is Feral Church. And that's about absolutely taking down all of that hierarchical, patriarchal stuff. You alluded to, I got to sing this at Samhain last year, and my community makes me wait because I love to sing that song. I start singing it, oh gosh, First Harvest, I'm singing Hoof and Horn because I just love it. It's not quite so high and low, so yes. I think I'll do a better job for that. Hoof and horn, all that die shall be reborn. Corn and grain, all that falls shall rise again. Hoof and horn, all that die shall be reborn. Corn and grain, all that falls shall rise again. Hoof and horn, all that die shall be reborn. Corn and grain, all that falls shall rise again.